Hello, hello, hello. So today we're gonna be playing some Kaiserreich as Canada today. A little 7:30 in the morning. So good morning to everybody who's on the stream today. Here we are. This is what people voted for at the end of our last campaign. Just got home. Hello, Finsk. Just in time for a nice little Canada stream. So, of course, it's 1936. We'll be going with all of our basic technologies to begin with. Critics already have you. Fantastic. We'll go for research speed. Don't even go for radio right away as well. So, what do we want to be doing as Canada? Of course, the overall goal of the campaign is to take over the Union of Britain. I think that seems to go without saying. We want to invade them ASAP. And by ASAP, I mean basically as soon as the Second Weltkrieg with Germany begins. We also have a vested interest in making sure the United States at least stays on side. Does not go towards the CSA. So those are kind of being our two primary objectives. I mean, unifying India would be nice, but I don't think it's top priority, especially for us, because you're not actually a puppet state, right? No, you're technically independent, which makes you significantly less useful to me, to be honest. So get a division together. Do we only have more than 17? We got one guy here. We have 18 divisions to begin with. I will say that's not fantastic, but it's exile. I'll put you in charge here. And we'll just draw you up on the border with the United States. For now, we will then get our Army Navy experience. Commandeer civilian trains. We probably don't need that right now. No, we do not. We'll turn all you off. Let us direct the exiles to an off-map factory. Seems pretty good. We'll start off with that. We are currently a 12-7-24. Not bad at all. We will go for just one military factory in Southern Ontario to begin with. Our dockyards, we will have 3 on convoy. The rest we're just going to throw into submarines. And we actually have so many. Most transport, tactical bomber, naval bomber, light tank, motorized. I mean, this all seems like decent. I have no real complaints one way or the other here. We can have up to 44 divisions. We have 5 of you. We have 15 combat with. We'll at least make you a a proper symbol here. So we have, we can ignore you. We are missing a lot of steel. I don't think we have any subjects, right? No, at least none that have steel. But the current situation. It's been 11 years since the collapse of the United Kingdom in 1925, and in that time, the King, the remnants of the British government, and over 1 million of the Empire's best and brightest and wealthiest have fled to Canada, with a clear expectation that the invasion would soon be launched to take back the home islands from the syndicalist upstarts. It was quickly became evident, however, that the syndicalist position was stronger than anticipated. Early forays were rebuked, and the last decade has seen the Union of Britain become solidified and entrenched. The exiles, as they're called in Canada, have meanwhile been left adrift, determined to take back their homeland, but facing a political reality that may never happen. So, the current situation. While initially welcomed by open arms by the Canadians, the notion that might be a long-term arrangement has been an increasingly unpleasant one. Finger pointed and blame laid on those who were directly deemed responsible for the collapse and the subsequent inability to rectify matters. And a resentment against exiles who have been seen in higher classes of Dominion, as well as above the law, has been growing. In 1931, a year after the election, the minority government of R.B. Bennett and his conservative collapse, to be replaced by McKenzie Kings and the Liberals with a promised focus on Canadian sovereignty, keeping the British government in exile at arm's length, rather than acting as if nothing had changed in the relationship. We should probably be getting a few more up. Yeah, there we go. This year, McKenzie King and Liberals are nearing the end of their term, and on top of that, the tribulation, the Great Depression, there is growing criticism that very little progress has been made in resolving the political situation. George V lies on his deathbed, charging the exiles and conservatives with bringing the empire back on track. His government clashes often with the Liberals and the Canadian public, Peter Spitt, those who would see the matters come to a head, and those who would prefer to abandon their ties to the crown and the French exiles in Africa both. The upcoming election appears to be the most divisive in Canadian history. So, it's been about 2 years since we played as the Canadians. I'm not too sure which way we're going to go, if we want to elect the Liberals or we want to elect the Conservatives. I will allow people in Twitch chat to kind of determine that on their own if they just want to, voice opinions. I mean, how many factories do we have for building right now? 5. Because we have the Great Depression, which is terrible, And we've got Anglo-French tensions, which also is not great. Twitch Moxie's the best? Hell yeah. So, we probably at least need to get some steel. Let's just say 2 factors of steel right now. I think that means we won't be able to build our boats properly, but... yeah, we're not going to be able to build our convoys or submarines as efficiently as we otherwise could be. But I think this is still okay. Close off of you. And the king is dead. In the last several months, King George has been plagued by illness and his health has been failing. This fact has been kept from the public to keep up appearances while treatments were attempted. It seems that all was for naught. At 11:55 yesterday, the king died following a bout of severe fever. His eldest son and heir apparent, Prince Edward, the inheritor of the throne as Edward VIII, is expected to address the nation within the month. An official coronation will be taking place in several months' time after official mourning period for King George has been observed. Okay, envoy from Transmere. We don't care about Transmere. Because Transmere would be anti-Ru... Actually, wait, no. We want... well, we don't really... I mean, Transmere can join the Entente, but... chances of that actually happening, I think, are quite low. Because we want them to fight the Russians. Because we want Russia to lose against Germany. Because we kind of need to be allied with Germany for the time being. We will go for the King's Speech. 28 days on you. It actually will only be 18 due to our banked up points here. So how's everybody doing on this lovely Wednesday morning? But did I turn off Fog of War? I did not. There we go. The Fog of War, it just looks bad. Okay. Black Monday, the Travelers have won in France, that's okay. And Black Monday hit Canada. Just when we thought we were almost through the doldrums of the Great Depression, German economic markets have experienced a massive crash, which has come to be dubbed Black Monday. While the Canadian economy is an aside of German markets as some, the ripples have been felt throughout the world, particularly in the United States, a market we are particularly dependent upon. This setback is difficult to take. The Prime Minister King has assured the country we will make it through this, just as we have to the dark years prior. Now it is time for us to join together and work as never before. Okay, so yeah, just make the Great Depression worse. I'm sure that's completely okay. We will join the war against Afghanistan, even though we're not going to put any troops there. Pray to George V that Germany will not die immediately. I'm hoping that they don't. Right, like, yeah, Germany I think will be okay. Fingers crossed. And the King's First Address. As King Edward prepares for his first radio address to the Empire, he must consider his message will be. This Privy Council is, of course, urging him to promote the cause of retaking on Miles. R.B. Bennett, the leader of the Conservative Party and official opposition, does it use his platform to endorse them in the upcoming election, saying this will serve its cause for war better. Others, meanwhile, suggest that supporting the current Prime Minister and government will go a long way in mending fences and maintaining stability. It could be seen as a tactical endorsement of the Liberals' party position. And prepare for war. Let's just support the Canadian government. I don't think that the AI cannot blitzkrieg as well as we did. Okay. King Edward has supported the government. We get 100 political power, stability, war support goes down, but I think that's completely okay. And King Edward recently made the rounds of Canadian newspapers, commenting on the war in Afghanistan, saying, "This won't be the end of it. World order established after the Great War is now falling apart, and the Empire must be ready. We cannot put our heads in the ground and wish things were other than they are. For one way or another, the wars overseas will come to our shores." The King's comments were seen as a tacit endorsement for R.B. Bennett and the Conservatives, and many Canadians are reluctantly agreeing. Also, thank you, Vil129 for the follow. I mean, the Dominion of India should win in Afghanistan, I would hope. We got the Imperial Conference, Stadium, the Privy Council, Crown Corporations, Air Force. You can't... yeah, this needs for the American Civil War to actually begin. Bill C7 has passed. I mean, this would allow us to... also, thank you, Thunter, for the follow. This would allow us to maybe... actually, no, modify the Great Depression. I think we need to get rid of the Depression as quickly as possible. I think Bill C7 can wait at least a little bit here. Do you need... wait, does intervening need Bill C7? No, just that the American Civil War has begun. Of course, we're about a little less... a little more than a year away from that. To suppress the exiles, we won't worry about that. We're another king. That requires us to actually own that territory. I mean, if you can complete Project Plow, what does that actually require? United Kingdom? I mean, I guess you could theoretically force it through rather quickly. You can probably start the British War in, probably in 37 if you try to rush it, but of course that doesn't make any sense, because you need Germany's backing to at least handle the French and the British navies. The writ of election issued. The House of Commons have issued the writ of election calling for a general election to be held in October this year. Both the Liberals and Conservatives have already begun campaigning, and the general sentiment of the election will be an important one. Does the country push hard towards the confrontation with the Union of Britain, or does it take a more cautious approach to focus on building up Canada's strength and that of the other dominions? The Liberals favor the latter, while the Conservatives and British exiles heavily favor the former. We're going to do a quick poll in chat. About who is going to win the election. Just a simple vote. Nobody gets any additional votes. We'll go like 3 minutes on that for now. We'll see who ends up winning the Twitch election. Because basically, Twitch and the Canadian population are one and the same. Whatever affects one will inevitably affect the other. So we've got to be considerate here. Okay, the Crown Corporations are done. The Moyen Commission. Oh yeah, this is about the West Indies Federation. Okay. With the recent degraded state of the West Indies economy caused by organized labor movements within the region, there's been cause for some concern on our part. The Canadian people always felt close to those within the West Indies Federation due to their similar upbringing from colony to British-led federation, increasing their desire for a formalized search of the region and its problems. This resulted in the formation of the Moyen Commission, expected to go around to each colony within the Federation and see exactly what the problems are, starting with the colony of Guyana. The officials in charge of this are Walter Guinness, the first Baron Moyen as the lead, Dr. Mary Blacklock, who works in tropic medicine, Professor F. Eagledow, who has experience in agriculture, economics. Okay, so it's just listing everybody who's going to the mission. Okay, just go there. We'll follow you up with formerly ISAC. I mean, that's pretty good. It allows us to get some quick research. You know what? We will go for the ISAC first. We have a decision available apparently. Which you are... Okay, for economics. I mean, 2 civilian factories. Yeah, these are actually both really good. I will take both right away. First things first, we will go up to early mobilization. Will that give me the 2 civilian factories I need? Let's just give it a day to see if maybe we can get 2 factories here. I mean, we're still at 50% consumer goods, which is pretty bad. Not pretty bad, it's actually horrible. But I will trade 1 less steel just so we can go for our... No, we have 2, yeah? More than 2. Oh, because you need 3. So you know what? Let's actually just, like, not import steel for right now. At least for, like, 3 months. Just so we can get our civilian factories going. And Bennett accused the Liberals of inaction. With the effect of Black Monday still being felt in Canada, RP Bennett has taken the offensive and accused Mackenzie King and the Liberals of gross inaction. Not only on the economic management of the country, but on what he suggests is an inevitable war that will determine the fate not only of Canada, but of the entire world. Canada, he says, should be pushing hard for the coming war and suggests that if it fails to do so, the Entente should be caught once again in a weak and invincible position. Considering the large crowd he's attracted with leaders in Halifax, there are a large number of Canadians who agree with him. Okay, so we'll get the results for our Twitch poll soon. And we've won the Stanley Cup. Look at us go. The Conservatives have won with 80% of the vote. That's a lot of the vote. And a 4 to 1. So the Conservatives will end up leading us in the future. Which I believe means that we will... Once the Quebec crisis happens, we'll probably go over suppress the Quebec War. Because I think last time we did the Wars Measure Act in our first playthrough as Canada. By first, I actually mean second, but this is our 3rd time playing Canada in the mod so far. They're moderates. We can address the Entente, suppress the exiles. I'm gonna mostly ignore this for the time being. But you know what? Let's just go for a straight up a royal address right away. I think that should be okay. Okay, there's the ISAC. The CCF appeals to the unemployed. The recently formed Cooperative Common Federation Party, led by J.S. Woodworth, have been making large gains in the polls, as Woodworth speaks to groups of unemployed laborers and factory workers across the country. The party's Democratic Socialist platform has resulted in the accusation being funded and run by cynical sympathizers, but its message of alienating the suffering of farmers and workers under capitalism has hit a chord even so. So there's cynicalism and social democracy getting a little bit more popular in the country. I don't believe you can elect the CCF. At least I'm like 90% sure. Could go for an extra research slot right away. And there's more Black Monday or Great Depression relief. Fate of the Senate. Let's just go for, you know, let's go for the Privy Council. We need to get Bill C7 done eventually. So let's just start getting it done now. We do have 2.7 thousand rifles. I would like to try to make this a, yeah, 20 combat width. So we'll just save that as is. We're missing a little bit of artillery, but it's actually not that bad. In fact, we'll probably, one, set all of you guys to high priority. We will then try to train up, let's just say 3 for right now. Okay, the Moyen Commission has returned. Has returned today. The finish is not entirely pleasant. Slavery in a different form. We're going to lose political power off this, thank you. Before we do that, though, we're just going to immediately do early mobilization. These say many Canadians are discussing what's happening in the West Indies, and those and who they see are very similar to them in ways has left a stain on the Imperial family and the current government. Okay, thank you. Thanks for negative 40 political power. America demands war debts. Some to the surprise of the Canadian government, but the ambassador for the United States of America has demanded that the Canadian government immediately repay debts incurred by the British Empire during the Weltkrieg. While the Americans are gripped in an economic crisis, one Canada has to an extent avoided, they must know that Canadians can never repay the debt, not all at once at least. Though the United Kingdom is on its way to repayment, there is a tacit agreement after the British Revolution that the debts won't continue to be repaid until the home isles were recaptured. But the Americans have made it now, they must either be desperate or must be catering to the more warlike and isolationist elements of the government. Well, either way we say no. I believe the Canadians used to be able to say yes to those demands. I think it was one of the ways that America used to be able to avoid the Civil War, but of course that's not actually an option anymore. Oh, so we can give you a upgrade. Just give me recovery rate. I think that seems okay. A good starting place. Yes, we still got a long ways to go on you guys. And the conscription debate begins. As expected, the most contentious issue in the election is proving to be that of conscription. All the Liberals and Conservatives have proposed a bill that has been known as C7, which would shape our preparations for war over the coming years. While the bill C7 includes conscription, however, is a key element. French Canadians in Quebec are, in particularly, vehemently opposed to the idea of general conscription forcing them to fight in a British war, and thus Liberals promise not to implementing it have seen them make them in great gains in the province. Conservatives, meanwhile, say that Canada doesn't have the manpower to fight any war without conscription. War, when it comes, means conscription sooner or later, and they say, for all our sakes, it should be sooner. We're definitely going to be having a crisis in Quebec. That much goes without saying. We can't do anything here until we actually pass C7. We will send some guns to the West Indies because we want them to not revolt and become syndicalist. That would make our life a little bit more difficult than it needs to be. Okay, the Baltic Duchy has collapsed. Not a great sign, to be honest, because again, we do want the Reichsbank actually being relatively powerful. The status of Privy Council. Okay, well you're dead, but that's okay. The British government in exile has operated on emergency powers for the last 10 years, existed without elections, and are unable to exercise legal influence outside of their status as the King's Privy Council. These, however, have become indicators that the Prime Minister, Austen Chamberlain's time is up. Many exiles see him as partly responsible for the loss of some isles and have been urging King Edward to replace him. We could push the king to appoint a more moderate candidate, however. Someone more likely to work with the Canadian government. We could also urge the king to call for an election among the exiles of Canada, so how much of a legal mandate they would have that it would give the new prime minister is questionable. What should we do? If we want to try to vote via the exiles, it gives us stability, gives us support for market liberalism, more influence here, political power. I mean, 8%. Actually, it's 8% plus 5%. That's actually a lot of war support. Your political power. Yeah, you know what? I think that's like a 13% swing. I'll take it. We're going to go for the IEDC next. And the reason we want the IEDC is so that we can try to alleviate Black Monday a little bit more. Okay, King Edward's review the military, touring Canadian military bases, reviewing troops, and meeting with generals regarding the preparedness of the Canadian military. And he's pleased overall. Excellent.